Welcome back. All right, so it is time to talk about the Colorado Avalanche as the season previews roll along. The Colorado Avalanche, of course, winning the Stanley Cup in 2022. They've had their struggles since then, but I want to talk about that too. So before we get to that, from 2014 until now, their top 10 scorers are, of course, led by Nathan MacKinnon, because who else? 709 games played, 311 goals, 525 assists, 836 points. We're not far away from seeing Nathan MacKinnon reach 1,000 career points. Mikko Rantanen, 570 games played, 262 goals, 355 assists, 617 points. Gabriel Landeskog, who we will talk about again later in the video, 539 games, 191 goals, 246 assists, 437 points. Cale Makar, 315 games, 86 goals, 250 assists, 336 points. People talk about how he's overrated and everything, but he's above a point per game in his career, and it's kind of considered a down year if he has less than 85 points, so he's pretty excellent all around. Tyson Barrie, 378 games, 60 goals, 196 assists, 256 points. Valeri Nichushkin, 289 games, 93 goals, 107 assists for 200 points. Samuel Girard, 470 games, 30 goals, 166 assists, 196 points. JT Compher, 423 games, 88 goals, 106 assists, 194 points. Devon Taves, 281 games played, 41 goals, 147 assists, 188 points. And Eric Johnson makes the top 10, 511 games, 52 goals, 115 assists, 167 points. When it comes to the top 5 goaltenders over that same time period, Semyon Varlamov, still the number one guy, 105 wins to go with 97 regulation losses and 26 losses in extra time or shootout. Georgiev, since getting there, 78, 34, and 11 record. Philip Grubauer, 66, 30, and 10. Pavel Francouz, who sadly had to retire, 44, 21, and 6 record. And Darcy Kemper, 37, 12, and 4, and he's the one that gets the Stanley Cup ring for it too. So over the last 5 seasons, Colorado's been one of the strongest teams. Their points percentage of .684 is second over that time period. Their goal scoring, 3.54 goals per game, that's first. This team does not have a problem getting the puck into the net. Goals against, 2.77, that's seventh overall over that period in time. Their power play, 23.1%, that's also seventh. Their penalty kill, 80.4%, that's 10th. So Colorado, solid numbers top to bottom. This past season, their .652 points percentage was 8th overall in the National Hockey League. Goals for stays first, 3.68 goals per game, so they're actually above their average over the last 5 seasons. Their goals against per game of 3.07, 17th. And one question mark around this team is going to be, is Georgiev good enough to get them a win come playoff time for a potential Stanley Cup? And that's a debate I'm sure we'll have right through the season. Their power play clicking at 24.5%. That's 5th overall this past season. Their penalty kill was 12th at 79.9%. So their top 10 scorers this past season, MacKinnon leads the way again, 82 games, 51 goals, 89 assists, 140 points for the Hart Trophy winner. Rantanen, 80 games, 42 goals, 62 assists, 104 points. Cale Makar, 77 games, 21 goals, 69 assists, 90 points. And again, every time we talk about Makar, right away there's people saying he's overrated. I've seen that other places as well. I don't get it. I do think he's the best defenseman in the NHL, but yeah, there's the debate there, obviously. Jonathan Drouin, 79 games, 19 goals, 37 assists, 56 points. Nichushkin, 54 games, 28 goals, 25 assists, 53 points. So when Nichushkin's in the lineup, he's very productive for Colorado. The problem is he's not in the lineup often enough. Devon Taves, 82 games, 12 goals, 38 assists, 50 points. Ross Colton, also 82 games for Taves, 80 games for Colton, 17 goals, 23 assists, 40 points. Lehkonen, 45 games, 16 goals, 18 assists, 34 points. Miles Wood, 74 games, 9 goals, 17 assists, 26 points. And Josh Manson, 76 games, 8 goals, 17 assists, 25 points. Their top 2 goaltenders, we know who those are. Georgiev, 38, 18, and 5 with an .897 save percentage this past season. And Annunen outplayed Georgiev at stretches. 8-4-1 record, 928 save percentage. But now over a full season, we'll see how much Georgiev plays. I'll say he's going to play a little bit less. Annunen should get into more games. And as long as his numbers stay steady, we should see an improvement then in Georgiev's numbers as well. I do think at times Colorado's overplayed Georgiev. So rookie watch, the one rookie that I'm putting on the board is Callum Ritchie. There's the possibility he ends up in the lineup at some point. And it would have to be in the event of injury, I would think. But I thought, yeah, I'll throw him on the board. But this is a team that's going to be very veteran heavy, right? So your first line's Jonathan Drouin, Nathan McKinnon, and Mikko Rantanen. Very likely to stay that way. But that second line, so you've got Gabriel Landeskog, who's been injured since the Stanley Cup win in 2022, right? And then you've got Valeri Nichushkin, who is suspended currently and won't be able to return until November. So those are two top six forwards that are out of the lineup that could be back. I will say mid-November. You could see both of them in the lineup potentially, right? And that could really change the look of this team. So Arturi Lehkonen, you would think, would drop down to the next line. Casey Middlestad can stay there in the middle because both Nichushkin and Landeskog are wingers. So does Logan O'Connor then drop down to that third line? Then it has that knock-on effect where Miles Wood, who would be on that third line, a drop to the fourth. Ross Colton, Nikolai Kovalenko. Do you want Kovalenko on the fourth line, or do you put him with the Eagles in the AHL and call him up in the event of injury? Because you've got Kivi Ranta on that fourth line, Parker Kelly, Chris Wagner. Obviously, Kelly would then drop out of the lineup, would be on the fourth line. But with Nichushkin and Landeskog back, and just assuming they both come back with no hitches for either of them, right? Nichushkin comes out of the player assistance program completely fine, no problem, no worries, and looks like he's going to come back, healthy and fine. Same thing for Landeskog. All the tests go really well. How much better are the Avalanche this coming season, and how far north of where they were in this year's standings can they get? Can they get back to first in the division, potentially first in the West? I don't see any reason why they can't if they have Landeskog and Nichushkin back. But that's the big question mark, right? Because when you look at the depth up front, you've got TJ Tynan, you've got Callum Ritchie, Matthew Phillips picked up in the offseason, you've got Oscar Olesen. But if you get Nichushkin and Landeskog back, then potentially Parker Kelly becomes a healthy scratch. Kovalenko goes down into the minors, so you can bring him up when you need him. There's more options there. So we'll see what happens. There's always the potential, too, that once Nichushkin's done with the player assistance program, maybe Colorado trades him, because this is the second time where he's pulled himself out of the lineup. And so, yeah, we'll see how everything goes from here. But Nichushkin's suspension at a bad time in the playoffs for Colorado, and that's after the previous playoffs where he just disappears the previous year, and that's a whole mess. We're not going to get into that here. But, yeah, I do wonder with Colorado how much more patience they have with Nichushkin, because when he's in the lineup, he's supremely talented, but he's got to be in the lineup. He can't be taking himself out of the lineup. Your defense, this is a really good, solid, deep defense core. So you've got Devon Taves, Cale Makar, Sam Girard, Josh Manson. Excellent top four right there. Eric Brandstrom and Oliver Shillington join the team. So does Calvin DeHaan. They've got Jacob McDonald, Sam Malinsky, Callie Rosen, who could be a good call-up, and Jack Ashawn as well. So this is a team that's got some depth on the blue line. I do like both the pickups of Brandstrom and Shillington. No risk to those contracts. No risk, potential reward if you're Colorado. Should be interesting to see how that defense core holds up. But it is a very good defense. And then there's the goaltending again, the aforementioned Georgiev and Annunen. And then they've picked up Kevin Mandolese as well, who will be playing for the Eagles and can be called up if need be to play some games for Colorado. He was able to fill in for Ottawa here and there too, so we'll see how things go. The cap space for this team is showing on Puckpedia as $2,066,250. Their schedule, it's not an awful schedule, to be honest. They have 7 out of 11 at home in October. So if they hit the ground running, and I know that's a term that doesn't seem scientifically possible, but it's a fun term to say. So 7 out of 11 at home in October, that gives them a chance to build up a good record. Half of their 14 games in November are at home as well. So not really an exhaustive schedule in October and November for them. In February, they have 1 at home, 3 away from home. Then you have the Four Nations Cup, 2 more away from home. So it's a 5-game road trip that spans across that tournament. And then they have 2 at home to round out the month of February. In April, 5 out of 7 games are on the road. So if they're a good road team this year, that's going to be tested. There's some road trips in there. I think there's a couple of 5-game road trips. But in general, the schedule, not too imbalanced. I do like the way the schedules have been set up for most of the teams this year. I haven't noticed anything really egregious in terms of homestands and really long road trips, but again, they may very well be there. I may just not have seen them because I'm old. At any rate, the Stanley Cup odds, we know that Colorado's going to be a favorite, right? So plus 1100 is third in terms of odds right now. They're tied with New Jersey and Dallas. So it is interesting because Dallas knocked them out of the playoffs, but if they do get Landeskog and Nichushkin back, would they get knocked out of the playoffs by Dallas again? I don't know, but I would love to see it. As much as these series stress me out because the Avs are one of those teams that I get worried are going to get rolling and win another Stanley Cup, it is always entertaining to have those matchups between top teams that are seen as Stanley Cup contenders. So the channel vote, 73% of you voted that the Avs will finish first or second, which seems to be the odds-on favorite position for them to finish. I think Dallas and Colorado is 1-2 is where most people are at. 24% said third or fourth. I'm guessing those are people who may see Winnipeg or Nashville as jumping into a top two spot. 2% said fifth or sixth, and 2% said seventh or eighth, which doesn't make a lot of sense, but Avs haters, I'm guessing. 7.3, or about 7,300 votes, a little over 7,300 votes so far for the Colorado Avalanche, and I'm going to have to get the Metro Division polls going up tonight as well because I'm now over halfway through the Central Division, and for Colorado, they should be a contender. But there's still some unknowns here, right? Because Landeskog is saying all the right things, and it looks like he should be back early in the season. Coach Bednar saying that as well. But until he's back on the ice and playing in those games, we do not know how his knee's gonna behave in games and how many minutes he's going to be able to play. And again, the whole Nichushkin thing, it feels like sometimes is lorded over this team. The game they had after the Nichushkin suspension, I thought was easily the worst game that Colorado's played in the playoffs in many years. And that had to be a frustrating night for Abs fans. And so, yeah, we'll see how things go there. So would you keep Nichushkin if you're the Abs? Is there any other changes that you would make? Because we've seen over the last week that teams are still making trades and making moves, and it's possible Colorado could, especially considering they do have a little bit of cap space there. And if they're confident Landeskog's coming back, does that mean that maybe you look to make a deal? Because this is a team that's got some depth there, and maybe you do want to make a trade before the season starts. But let me know your thoughts. What do you think the Avs are going to do, if anything, between now and the start of the season? And what is your feeling on their chances to win another Stanley Cup should Landeskog return early in the season? Let me know your thoughts on that subject. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe in the event you've not done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support as always. I will talk to you again soon.